think the lesson here is perhaps that, probably we needed to find out a lot sooner, perhaps with some better communication, what it is that was hanging him up. My impression was he was the best game in town, and we just had to wait for him to get himself organized before he could really give us much of his time. But I think now that we are, officially partners, we have the right to know what's going on, and I think we need to have a regular. What? I think we need to have a schedule, at least a conference call weekly, so that we can make progress with him, and we can not only wait for him to get more involved. If I need to be in Milan for the next month from middle of January, end of January, whatever, to be there for pitching, I would hate to have him call me and say, hey, you need to be here tomorrow. I've got the big league, Well, I gave her photos and permission to install them. I want to see if they can do now that the holidays have officially passed. They're really just right. So I think the time that I was there was probably not the best time to come. We really only had about 2 weeks to work, and then the holidays descended. So I came with the best hope available that the fashion show would happen, that film that I had a chance to audition for. This is the sort of the status of our careers. We have to invest and we have to believe. And I see something political happen. I think I was trying to develop. I think there's some sort of political movement where probably the producer has opinions to be brought into like you say, you've got to keep various different hands in the pie to
No, I have my other hand down more. What are you looking for?
there on the wrong day.
Yeah. Monday. It's the worst day.
That's when all the bitches show up. Apparently.
Oh, yeah.
And they're yelling at the postmaster, she's the postman. And I'm like, okay. No idea what your issue is, but
Sure, I might make fun of the postmaster, but they do their fucking job.
to get an estimate of what the world's population should be after any given period of time. A biblical age of the Earth, about 6,000 years, is consistent with the numbers yielded by such a calculation. In contrast, even a conservative evolutionary age of 50,000 years comes out to a staggering, impossibly high figure of 10 to the 99th power greater than the number of atoms in the universe. Clearly, the claim that humans have inhabited the Earth for tens of thousands is absurd. 6. When solid rock is bent, it normally cracks and breaks. Rock can only bend without fracturing when it is softened by extreme heating, which causes recrystallization, or when the sediments have not yet fully hardened. There are numerous locations around the world, including the famous Grand Canyon, where we observe massive sections of strata that have been tightly folded, without evidence of the sediments being heated. This is a major problem for evolutionists who believe these rock layers were laid down gradually over vast eons of time, forming the geologic record. However, it makes perfect sense to creationists who believe these layers were formed rapidly in the global, catastrophic flood described in Genesis. By their overturning these completely discredited myths concocted by Western scientists in order to hide the true history of our world, in order to discredit the Bible and humanity's most ancient historically renderings, this report continues. SFLMRD Dr. Scientists have, instead, embraced reality by including them in order to describe the truth of the grave danger now facing the Federation, and that begins by their asserting that Atlantis had never been in the Atlantic Ocean, but was, instead, located in the middle of what is now the United States and that is known today as the Western Interior Seaway. Plato's dialogues Timaeus and Critias, written in 360 BC, this report details, contain the earliest references to Atlantis, and that state. For it is related in our records how once upon a time your state stayed the course of a mighty host, which, starting from a distant point in the Atlantic Ocean, was insolently advancing to attack the whole of Europe, and Asia to boot. For the ocean there was at that time navigable, for in front of the mouth which you Greeks call, as you say, the Pillars of Heracles, there lay an island which was larger than Libya and Asia together, and it was possible for the travelers of that time to cross from it to the other islands, and from the islands to the whole of the continent over against them, which encompasses that veritable ocean. For all that we have here, lying within the mouth of which we speak, is evidently a haven having a narrow entrance, but that yonder is a real ocean, and the land surrounding it may most rightly be called, in the fullest and truest sense, the continent. Now in this island of Atlantis there existed a confederation of kings, of great and marvelous power, which held sway over all the island, and over many other islands also in parts of the continent. And then according to Critias, too, a war took place between those outside the Pillars of Hercules at the Strait of Gibraltar and those who dwelt within them. The Atlanteans had conquered the parts of Libya within the Pillars of Hercules, as far as Egypt, and the European continent as far as Tyrrhenia, and had subjected its people to slavery. The Athenians led an alliance of resistors against the Atlantean Empire, and as the alliance disintegrated, prevailed alone against the empire, liberating the occupied lands. But afterwards there occurred violent earthquakes and floods, and in a single day and night of misfortune all your warlike men in a body sank into the earth, and the island of Atlantis in like manner disappeared in the depths of the sea. For which reason the sea in those parts is impassable and impenetrable, because there is a shoal of mud in the way, and this was caused by the subsidence of the island. The violent earthquakes and floods that destroyed Atlantis, this report explains, match exactly those events and timelines described in the Bible relating to Noah's flood, where God destroyed the world by his but, also, completely re-altered its geology. To the remnants of the Atlantean peoples who survived Noah's flood, this report details, the ancient peoples of the Americas provide historical evidence, such as the Mayan peoples of Mesoamerica, and who in their most ancient writings describing the giants known as the Achikaps, stated that they were 4 gods who had fled Atlantis before its destruction. With the Western Interior Seaway of North America being drained after Noah's flood, and that had, also, destroyed the island of Atlantis, this report continues. Further evidence of where the few remaining Atlantean giants dispersed to is littered throughout the ancient stories of the indigenous peoples of the Americas too, and is written in the historical record that includes 1. From the Choctaw peoples, Horatio Bartlow wrote in his 1899 book History of the Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Natchez Indians, the tradition of the Choctaws, told of a race of giants that once inhabited the now state of Tennessee, and with whom their ancestors fought when they arrived in Mississippi in their migration from the west. Their tradition states the Nahoa, race of giants, was of wonderful stature. 2. From the Comanche peoples, Chief Rolling Thunder of the Comanches, the tribe from the Great Plains, gave the following account of an ancient race of white giants in 1857, innumerable moons ago, a race of white men, 10 feet high, and far more rich and powerful than any white people now living, here inhabited a large range of country, extending from the rising to the setting sun. Their fortifications crowned the summits of the mountains, protecting their populous cities situated in the intervening valleys. 3. From the Navajo peoples, Yates also writes of the star-named people of Navajo legend, describing them as a regal race of white giants endowed with mining technology who dominated the West, enslaved lesser tribes, and had strongholds all through the Americas. They were either extinguished or went back to the heavens. 4. From the Manto peoples, in 1864, Pedro de Cieza de Leon wrote in Chronicle of Peru to indigenous people. There are, however, reports concerning giants in Peru, who landed on the coast at the point of Santa Elena. The natives relate the following tradition, which had been received from their ancestors from very remote times. 5. From the Paiute peoples, the Paiutes are said to have an oral tradition that told of red-haired, white, cannibals about 10 feet tall who lived in or near what is now known as Lovelock Cave in Nevada. Outside of the Americas, this report further notes other historical recordings of where these Atlantean giants dispersed to when Atlantis was destroyed appear in the 15th century annals of Clonmacnois of ancient Irish history that described them as living by piracy and spoils of other nations, and were in those days very troublesome to the whole world, and, of course, in the Old Testament Bible, where in the book of Numbers, chapter 13, verses 32 to 33, it was written, so they gave out to the sons of Israel a bad report of the land which they had spied out, saying, the land through which we have gone, in spying it out, is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people whom we saw in it are men of great size. There also we saw the Nephilim, the sons of Anak are part of the Nephilim, and we became like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight. Based upon these ancient historical records that recorded the dispersal of these Atlantean giants, this report concludes, SFLMRT Dr. Scientists have determined that the location of Atlantis was an island in the western interior seaway of North America and whose location today is known as the Yellowstone Volcano Caldera and where thousands of earthquakes are now occurring causing fears of its imminent eruption but whose real/true cause is the re-rising of Atlantis and that the ancient Book of Revelation, also, described by its warning the peoples of today. Then the fifth angel sounded his trumpet, and I saw a star that had fallen from heaven to earth, and it was given the key to the pit of the abyss. The star opened the pit of the abyss, and smoke rose out of it like the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by the smoke from the pit. And out of the smoke, locusts descended on the earth, and they were given power like that of the scorpions of the earth. This discovery is done completely by chance in the spring of 2008, and if we know happened is no doubt thanks to the Russian media and television premisa. This occurs in Kurdistan, Iran, a country rather close to the world, at least in the Western world, but it has good
Today is
relations
one of
with
those
Russia.
scrunching for
Although
time
hidden until
days.
today, 2015,
So I'm
we
not
managed
sure
to know
that
by
I'm
what has
gonna
published
be
the
done
Russian
until
press,
about 5 or
thanks
6
Google
today.
Translator, that the discovery occurs in a work when digging the ground to make the foundations of a house.
But I so
Then appear a
definitely want to
mausoleum
go.
containing 3 coffins, and after more concise excavations, a layer of ground containing the remains of an ancient civilization
That's
in the
the part
ruins
that
of a
sucks
city.
about being your own boss.
By the stratum
You
in
have
which it
to
was
go to work,
found, but
no
also
matter
thanks
what.
to the artifacts found inside, archaeologists determined that the monument and the city were built sometime between 10,000 and 12,000 years old, a date quickly reviewed by the Islamic authorities after publication of the finding in the Russian press. The Iranian authorities publicly said that the ruins had a 850 years old, which obviously does not correspond to the facts. It is, again, an official lie. Of the 3 sarcophagi found in the mausoleum, we only have photo evidence of the first 2. We know nothing of the third, or their content, or who was inside. As can be seen, it is very difficult from the photos to determine the height of the individual, which does not seem to, even if it seems to be very high. Wearing a crown, suggesting that it was the sovereign of the city, and was buried, as we shall see later, with his wizard, which makes me conclude that in the third sarcophagus should have his wife queen. There are gold coins placed on the eyes of the king, which is a well-attested habit of antiquity, first thrust to the official lie that the ruins are the 12th century. We observe Caucasian features, but copper skin. The individual second sarcophagus shares these same characteristics. We leading gold ornaments with precious stones guess, but I find strange. These ornaments carry a cuneiform that I cannot identify but which has been translated, since, as we shall see later, give us the name of the second man found in the second sarcophagus and how his profession magician. The royal sarcophagus seemed to be lined with gold or a metal that looks like him, and near the monarch can see a golden chest encrusted with strange gems, the same as those found adorning the king. I say strange because I seem to be luminescent. Let's now turn to the content of the second sarcophagus, which itself contains a giant. An interesting phenomenon in the sky.
Calendar. I liked it too. I haven't tried the shoes on yet. I haven't had time.
Antarctica is not what people thought according to Russia. Apparently, the governments of the USA and Russia have been keeping what Antarctica really is top secret, as both countries have known what is really going on, but they have never spoken out until now. Russia recently revealed that there is another continent hidden under the ice in Antarctica, and many people think that this is where an ancient civilization that fell lies. This is what has been said to be what has attracted the interest of some of the great leaders. Now Antarctica has a ban and people are why the governments chose to keep what is an important discovery top secret. Russian scientists then found hundreds of lakes underneath the ice of Antarctica, and these are not frozen as you would have thought, but they contain fresh water that has been isolated away for more than 10 million years. The scientists drilled down through the ice and reached the biggest of the lakes, and this is said to have taken them 10 years. An elevator has now been installed in the hole, and it took a team of 8 underneath the ice of Antarctica and revealed the lakes that were hidden. Russian scientists were in Antarctica and they had been baffled when they came across a created that they termed organism 46b. The creature is said to be extremely dangerous due to the fact that it paralyzes the prey it catches with venom and then tears it into pieces at leisure. The creature has proven theories that there are monsters in ice.
SCP-420J or something?
The region they came across the frightening
So
creature
fucking
which they
retarded.
called organism 46b.
organism.
The
4-6 feet.
scientists said that the creature is a lot like a big octopus and it has 14 arms.
SCP-46.
14 arms.
The creature is able to
Like an
paralyze
octopus.
people thanks to it having
But
strong
twice as many
venom, and
arms.
it can do this at more than
And it has
150
venom.
feet away. It has
Oh,
been reported
okay.
that one of the members
Does
of
it
the
fly
crew
and go
has been
invisible?
killed by the creature. Scientists took the creature to study it, and they say that it seems to be a cross between the mimic octopus, which is found in the Indo-Pacific, and organism 46B. The creature is said to have the camouflage powers of the octopus, but it can take mimicry even further. One crew member said that they saw the creature change its form to that of a human diver, and with this ability, there is no wonder that it has been kept a secret. The witness to this was said to have been killed by the creature as it fooled him into thinking that it was just one of the crew members. This led to the crew capturing the creature and putting it into a tank. They used a woman who had incredible abilities and techniques for defending herself. The Russian scientists said that they took the creature so that they could look into the
They used a woman
capabilities
that
of
was
it
really
along
good
with the
at
venom.
defending herself.
At the
to
moment,
catch a
what else might
venomous
be hiding away underneath the ice in
shape-shifting
Antarctica is
octopus.
still a secret.
True. Yes, SCP-46B, obviously.
Yeah, and obviously they used SP9. Lady was very good at defending herself.
Yeah, somebody went on like fucking creepypasta and it's like, oh, I just read this news article.
You know, we're in like day 17 of government shutdown.
Oh yeah, that's
The
normal.
post offices are going to shut down. The food stamp program's going to stop.
Yes.
The what do they call those guys at the airport? The FK or whatever fucking officers.
Nice.
They're not being paid right now for 17 days already.
A new report
TSA.
circulating in the Kremlin
TSA,
today
yeah.
prepared for
Well, they're not,
Trump's
like-
like, I'm not lifting the government shutdown until you guys agree to build a wall. Okay, we can build a fence, but you have to agree.
That was all the plan was a fence.
In a war against UFOs based on particularly the Southern Ocean. According to this report, the United States went on June 10, 2004 after a massive fleet of UFOs suddenly emerged from the Southern Ocean and approached Guadalajara, Mexico, barely 1,600 kilometers, 1,000 miles from the American border. Prior to reaching the U.S. border, this massive UFO fleet is said in this report to have dimensionally returned to their Southern Ocean home base. The fears of the Americans regarding these Southern Ocean UFOs began, this report says, during the unprecedented events of July 11, 1991, referred to as 7/11s, when during the solar eclipse these mysterious aircraft appeared by the hundreds over nearly all of Mexico, even their capital city. Most notable about the events of 7/11s were that as millions of Mexicans were watching on their televisions the national broadcasts of these UFOs over Mexico City, the American media refused to allow their people to view it. Since 2004, this report continues, fleets of Southern Ocean UFOs have continued to emerge from their bases, with the latest such event being this Friday past when another of their massive fleets was sighted over the South American nation of Chile. The immediate danger to our world when these massive UFO fleets emerge from the Southern Ocean, this report warns, are the massive waves caused by their sudden eruption from what are believed to be their underwater base, or bases. In the past week alone, the Clelia II, an Arctic cruise ship with 120 people on board, was nearly capsized when hit by waves generated by these UFOs emerging from the Southern Ocean, and just today the number 1 in Sung has been reported sunk with only 20 of its 42-member crew said saved due to the same cause. Interesting to note in this report is it's confirming our October 14th report US shuts down New York City airspace over UFO threat that these same Southern Ocean UFOs were responsible for the closing of the airspace over New York City this past fall, October 13th, when they appeared openly and were witnessed by tens of thousands of people, and which, coincidentally, occurred during the same time frame as the mysterious crystal skulls of the ancient South American peoples were being exhibited there too. Even more interesting to note is that the mysterious earthquakes being reported in the Gulf of Aden, where another extraterrestrial event is currently ongoing and we had reported on in our December 1st report. Mysterious vortex warned is creating global weather catastrophe, are now being reported occurring in the Southern Ocean too. This report goes on to state that after WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange warned last week that he would begin releasing secret US cables relating to these Southern Ocean UFOs, and the Americans' war against them, he was immediately arrested by British police on trumped-up charges issued by the Swedish government, which in our December 8th report, global rebellion erupts after unprotected sex meets disrobed governments, we noted were engineered a classic CIA honey trap. Note, since our last report on the EU's frame-up of Assange, it is now being reported that one of his two accusers, Anna Arden, has fled Sweden and is now in hiding in the Palestinian territories. To if Assange, or his WikiLeaks website, will survive to see the whole release of these Southern Ocean UFO files, it is not to our knowing, nor does this report say. What is in our knowing, however, and when coupled with the information we reported on in our December 10th report, massive earthquake fears rise after mysterious object moves nearer to Earth, suggests that the timing of these events, as we near the December 2021's total lunar eclipse, and as Mercury turns retrograde and joins Mars as it forms a conjunction with Pluto, that the ending of this 2016 truly marks the ending of this age as prophesied. Paul Hertz, director of the Astrophysics Division of the NASA, shared at Mbrke
The NASA.
statement about aliens. He said, "So again, no, we didn't discover aliens on Europa. This shouldn't come as a huge shock to anyone. We told you repeatedly that today's announcement wouldn't be aliens. But every time we do one of these things with the press, inevitably you guys think it's going to be about aliens. So I will let you in on a little secret. NASA will literally never hold a press conference announcing we have discovered aliens. Aliens are going to discover us, and when they do, it won't be pretty. You can take that to the bank. There certainly won't be enough time for a press conference about it. You probably won't even have time to blink. Just a hot white flash in the sky and then lights out. As far as the universe is concerned, relatively speaking, we are infants. Lord knows we act like it. I mean, you guys see the same garbage we do, right? Would you tolerate this? I know as sure as shit wouldn't. Not even for a second.
Sure as shit wouldn't.
We are basically infants, and when the adults show up, and they show up soon or later, it's game over. Best case scenario, we wipe ourselves off the face of the planet before they get a crack at us. You want an announcement about aliens? Here it is. Be careful what you wish for. If you guys knew even a fraction of the shit we do, you will never sleep again. I promise you that.
We do.
Paul Hertz, director of the Astrophysics Division at NASA. Follow the link below this video to read this amazing statement at Mbrke.
So that's what's wrong with my dad. That's why he never sleeps.
Well, fucking, there's some things you don't want to know, Jim. No, I'm not fucking curious. Do I look curious to you? Yep, I look forward to the death of all humanity.
Miley Cyrus fans have been dealt a devastating blow after a brief moment when she shape-shifted into a reptilian during an interview has gone viral after it was captured on video. During the interview, she can clearly be seen to perform a sideways blink in which her pupils become long thin slits, similar to those of a snake. In this moment of transformation, she is said to be revealing the form of a Draco-reptilian shapeshifter hybrid. Shape-shifting reptilians are believed to use liquid crystal holographic technology to appear to everybody else to look like a regular human being. Hybrid shapeshifters and clones have been placed in strategic places around the world to accomplish the NWO agenda. Many high-ranking political figures, celebrities, European royal families, and corporation heads are thought to be of a reptilian bloodline. The footage was shot during an interview for an ABC News show where the anomalies were only noticed during the editing stages. The studio insider who leaked the uncut footage said that a colleague in the studio first noticed the transformation and raised the alarm. He called me over and was pale and shaking. He played me the clip in slow motion and I thought I was going to throw up. We showed the director and he said to get rid of those frames and check for more. Barbara Walters, the show's host, tried to say it was just her makeup running. No way. I know what I saw. Recently there were reports that Canadian pop star shapeshift into a reptile during his Australian tour when fans gathered to meet him at an airport. Fans reported that all hell broke loose after he transformed into an 8-foot-tall scaly green reptile, leaving fans terrified and scrambling for the exit. One fan of both Cyrus and Bieber took to Twitter after hearing about their transformations, saying, "Justin Bieber and Miley Cyrus are reptilian aliens, I'm not okay," with another Twitter user adding, "Ever since I watched Miley's pupils morph like a reptilian shapeshifter, I cannot look at her like she's not some mythical dragon lady." A Miley Cyrus fan reached out to us after her daughter watched the shape-shifting footage, saying, "She asked me to take her posters off the wall as she's too afraid to sleep in her bedroom now. She doesn't like snakes." In the last couple of years, sightings of reptilian shape-shifting has reached an all-time high in what many are calling the golden age of shape-shifting reptilian sightings. Russian President Vladimir Putin recently revealed how the British Queen had shape-shifted into her reptile form in front of him as a show of power. An American pop star, Lady Gaga, claimed that Prince Charles had done the same in front of her many times during a private meeting after a royal gala event. Experts claim that these reptilian shapeshifters belong to the dominant reptilian Illuminati bloodline known as the Babylonian Brotherhood, who are working towards bringing in the New World Order. Historians claim that reptilian sightings are at an all-time high due to the fact that the world is gaining consciousness, and that the veil is slowly lifting. In an attempt to reach Earth, an alien species sent out 3 detailed messages. NASA and Russia were the first to get them, and the findings are beginning to baffle scientists. When astronomers first felt the spike in radio signals from a distant star, they were all too excited. The sources of this signal came from the Sun-like star called HD 164,595.
Sun-like star.
Not exactly a catchy name, but that's not the point here. This star is from constellation Hercules, nearly 90 away. Some of the more boring scientists out there think this is nothing more of a natural phenomenon.
Some of the more boring
However,
scientists.
other astronomers think
Yeah, that's your
NASA and
fucking
Russia
problem.
just received an alien message. It's not the first time either. UFO researchers reported that Russia and NASA detected a very strong mystery signal from space. Thanks to SETI, the search for alien life is heating up in a big way. SETI regularly monitors space for radio transmissions from potentially civilized societies. On August 29, 2016, they found a strong signal that they think is artificial in nature. Furthermore, it's coming from a sun-like star very much like our own. This only increases the chance of finding intelligent life like here on Earth. If this was a standalone event, that's one thing. However, it's a part of a larger trend. We've all seen crop circles and for the most part, dismiss them as a childish hoax. However, there are far more to these creations than we give them credit for. There are a few different cases where researchers found a binary code in these crop circles. From ETS. What they are warning us about is uncertain but estimates range from
ETS.
invasion warning to a simple hello. It looks like aliens are trying just as hard as we are to communicate.
I know.
It's only a matter of time before we establish contact.
Extraterrestrial.
Space, motherfucker. Space, motherfucker.
The archaeological world has been thrown into excitement after the discovery of a large, black granite sarcophagus in the ancient Egyptian port city of Alexandria. The sarcophagus was discovered by builders during construction work who immediately contacted archaeologists. When the archaeologists attended the scene, they realized that this discovery could be of tremendous importance for a number of reasons. The sarcophagus has been overlaid with a layer of mortar between the body and the lid, which strongly suggests that the contents have been left undisturbed since it was buried in the earth. Furthermore, the sarcophagus is also very unusual because of its size. It is almost 2 meters high, 3 meters in length, and weighs 30 metric tons, making it the largest of its sort to have ever been discovered in the city. That sounds like the perfect storage for an immortal evil demon. Finally, the sarcophagus was found next to a large and remarkably
That's a hell of a logical leap there,
which is believed to
Broseph.
be a representation of whoever lies in the tomb. Given the exquisite quality of the carving, it is presumed that the sarcophagus contains the remains of one of the high dignitaries of the age. The sensational find has now brought a number of scientists on the scene who want to open the sarcophagus even though they have no idea who or what is in it. What could possibly go wrong? It is entirely possible that after the sarcophagus is opened that the archaeologists will be able to discover clues that will allow them to identify exactly who lay
Let's
inside
open
it
up all the
and
boxes,
a chance
actually,
to
in
illuminate
my
a
opinion.
fascinating period in Egyptian history in a very personal way. However, before the detective work can begin, the archaeologists have a very difficult job ahead of them just getting the tomb open. It's risky to open it directly, we need to prepare, explained Ayman Ashmi, the head of ancient Egyptian artifacts at Egypt's Ministry of Antiquities. Given the size of the sarcophagus, which weighs 30 tons, it will be impossible to move the sarcophagus to a museum before opening it, requiring it to be opened on site. In the coming weeks, mummification and restoration specialists will be present when the engineers prise the enormous lid off the top of the tomb. Ask yourself, why did people bother to bury something under a 15-ton lid? That's right. It should never get a chance to get out.
Well, fucking people think they live in, like, special land, don't they? Like, they really think the world has something special going on.
Yeah, well, I would say that if I found something that,
Adele shape-shifted into an 8.
Well, I mean, obviously I'd go get the silver bullet or whatever, but...
The final concert of her world tour, according to shocked fans in a
Fuck, it's not like we live in Final Fantasy, Ma.
The 10 super fans, invited
And even if we did, somebody'd kill it.
The final New Zealand show, got more than they bargained for when the singer shape-shifted into a massive, at least 8 or 9 feet tall, powerfully built reptilian with greenish-gray scales, to quote one of the Jim Joint, reporting for the New Zealand Herald, wrote that the superfans told him Adele had flickering reptile eyes with a black stripe down the middle and scaly horns and protrusions all over her body. She looked shocked, like she wasn't prepared for the change, a witness told the Herald. Adele fan Jessie Warren also told the Herald that Adele said the shape-shifting is crippling her and she can't go on until she learns to stop the reptile inside herself from manifesting itself in public. Adele said she won't be able to perform live or tour again until she learns to control the shape-shifting. Editor's note: the screenshots from the New Zealand Herald newspaper article were sent to us by Jessie Warren, an Adele fan who says she was invited backstage. According to Jess, the NZ Herald shortly after publication, warning readers to hold onto their hats, The New Zealand Herald writer claims that a number of fans who were invited backstage to meet Adele witnessed the British singer shape-shift into a giant lizard and then apologize for scaring them, explaining that she meant no harm and is a good reptilian. The New Zealand Herald has not responded to questions asking why they deleted the article from their website, or if they were acting under outside orders. It would not be the first time a news outlet or social media platform was forced to censor content relating to celebrity reptilian shape-shifting, with Twitter notorious for deleting tweets and shadow banning accounts whenever a celebrity is seen in reptilian form by members of the public. A report about Justin Bieber being seen by his fans in reptilian form, published by Australian news outlet Perth Today, was deleted on the same day it was published, with experts claiming the newspaper was instructed to delete the article by the global elite. In January, Caitlyn Jenner was also seen shape-shifting at a restaurant in Malibu, Los Angeles. Twitter erupted with tweets and retweets, and reptilian Caitlyn entered the top 10 trending topics. However, Twitter cracked down on the tweets, claiming they breached the platform's hateful conduct rules, and the trending topic was suppressed. Music industry reptilian Illuminati. Jessie Warren told Your Newswire that she and her fellow Adele fans are now convinced that long-standing industry rumors are true. Adele is a member of the humanoid race that has infiltrated the music industry Illuminati and are using pop culture to spread their agenda and indoctrinate impressionable young people. According to historians, there have been sightings of reptilians around the world at regular intervals throughout history. However, it is widely believed that we are now in a golden age of reptilian sightings. There is a belief that the world is gaining consciousness, waking up, and that the veil is slowly lifting. Experts are saying that more people than ever before have developed the ability to witness shape-shifting. However, two people watching the same scene will not necessarily both be able to discern the shape-shifting reptilian. It is said that Queen Elizabeth, a high priestess of the dominant reptilian Illuminati bloodline, is the most common shape-shifting reptilian in the world. However, sightings of celebrity reptilians, including music industry and Hollywood stars, are becoming more and more common. The Sumerian king list is an archaic stone tablet written in the Sumerian language. It gives us the names and reign lengths of the kings of Sumer, a region that is now occupied by southern Iraq. Compiled from several different clay tablets, the final part of the king list contains the names of historically attested rulers and cities, but these are not the focus of this article. To the Forbidden History community, the first, unattested kings on the list present greater interest. Also known as antediluvian rulers, the first 8 kings in the list totaled a reign of 242,100 years, in a mythical period before the Great Flood swept the area. Mainstream scholars dismiss the existence of these lords and their impossibly long reigns, citing the fact that no archaeological discoveries support the unusual claims made by the stone tablets. Yet the cuneiform words are there. After the kingship descended from heaven, the kingship was in Eridug. In Eridug, Ululim became king. He ruled for 28,800 years. After the first heavenly king's tenure ended, the scepter fell into the hands of Ulilengar, who ruled for 36,000 years. After him, it was Enmenel-Uana's turn to sit on the throne for a whopping 43,200 years. The next 5 kings all held office for very long periods of time, the shortest of which lasted only 600 years. The coming of the Great Flood, considered by some a global catastrophe, put an end to the reign of the mythical kings. After the flood had swept over, and the kingship had descended from heaven, the kingship was in Kish. Kish was an ancient city in Sumer, home of the first historically documented Sumerian dynasty. The kings in this dynasty had shorter reigns than the ones before them, but they still extended way beyond the expected lifespan of a human being in those days. The shortest reign belonged to Zamak, the son of Barcelona, who remained in power for 140 years. For a long time, historians agreed these impossible timelines were the result of fiction, their reigns being hyperbolized to increase the significance of the ancient Sumerians in the eyes of neighboring peoples. By documenting their extremely old history, they could stake a legitimate claim to rule the land. But most historians dismiss the existence of the Anunnaki, the children of Anu. They too came down from heaven to fulfill their own agenda on Earth. These beings had mastered space travel, and although it is said they came here from the 12th planet, Nibiru, their place of origin might as well have been somewhere else in the galaxy. We don't know for sure how man came to be on this planet. Perhaps he is the product of evolution and natural selection. But if humans were indeed created by someone, there is room for the Anunnaki genesis theory, which claims man drew his first Anunnaki geneticists Enki and Ninmah. If these beings were able to manipulate and transform Homo erectus into rational, intelligent humans, it goes without saying they were able to prolong their own lives. This could mean the longevity of the reigns on the Sumerian king list could be interpreted as a reality rather than a metaphor. For all we know, these celestial beings could have been immortal or at least impervious to factors such as aging and disease. If they wielded enough power to be considered gods, it stands to reason they were immune to the troubles that end our lives short. There is always the possibility that we're looking for answers in the wrong places and the Sumerian king list is half fable, half fact. But amid this controversial topic, one thing is certain: our planet's history sure is strange.
What, is that part of the show or is that a commercial?
I think it's just part of the show.
Oh.
A mysterious picture with figures on the clouds that circulates in the internet. Very strange figures seem to be in a meeting on the clouds. In January of 2016 already they would have photographed a giant being, as you can see in the photo of the right side. In 17 these beings appear. Registered at MUFON, causing a great debate on the internet. Case MUFON 82114. Please find MUFON links to these photos below this video. What do you think? Please share your thoughts. Niagara Falls divers from the U.S. Coast Guard took part this morning in a delicate wreck recovery operation to bring to the surface a Nazi submarine discovered 2 weeks ago at the bottom of Lake Ontario. The U-boat was spotted for the first time by amateur scuba divers in late January, and they had contacted the authorities. Archaeologists associated with Niagara University and master divers from the U.S. Coast Guard were mobilized on site to determine what it was, and they soon realized that they were dealing with a German submarine that War II. A wreck recovery vessel of the Great Lakes Shipwreck Historical Society was mandated to refloat the ship and bring it back to Niagara Falls, where it must be restored before becoming a museum ship. The delicate recovery operation took nearly 30 hours to complete, but the submarine was finally brought down on the bank with relative ease. The submarine was identified as the UX-791, a unique experimental German submarine, based on the U-1200 model, and known to have participated in the Battle of the St. Lawrence. It was reported missing in 1943 and was believed to have been sunk near the Canadian coast. Professor Mark Carpenter, who leads the team of archaeologists, believes that the U-boat could have trapped at the St. Lawrence River, all the way to the Great Lakes, where it intended to disturb the American economy. A report from the data from February 1943 suggests that the ship could have attacked and destroyed 3 cargo ships and 2 fishing vessels, even damaging the USS Sable, 9-81, an aircraft carrier of the U.S. Navy that was used for training in the Great Lakes, before finally being sunk by anti-sub grenades launched by a Canadian frigate. We have known for a long time that the Nazis had sent some of their U-boats in the St. Lawrence River, but this is the first proof that they actually reached the Great Lakes, Professor Carpenter told reporters. Explain the mysterious ship disappearances that took place in the region in 1943, and the reported Battle of Niagara Falls, which had always been dismissed as a collective hallucination caused by fear. The restoration of the submarine could take more than 2 years, but once completed, the museum ship is expected to become one of the major tourist attractions of the region.
I don't know. Absolutely